Welcome to Happily Ever Aftermath, the podcast that explores the movies that influenced how we view love and romantic relationships. Yes, there will be spoilers. I'm your host, Diana Rojek Skonnord. I tell you this, it's going to take a lot more than a couple of car bombs to get us off this case.
Not a hell of a lot more.
We're talking about National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1 from 1993, and we have a lot of explaining to do before we even get started by how we, justify talking about National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1 from 1993. Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Diana. You mean besides you wanted to?
Oh, well. I wanted to. Air quotes wanted to is actually not even air quote worthy because, I wanted to watch this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And what's kind of strange about that is, just to keep it a little bit off kilter, you'll note that this was actually a dialogue starting the episode instead.
Yes.
Because this movie is all about give and take.
It's
There's nothing that kind of stands on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And instead it's just about, one-liners. No, there is no one-liners. That's the point. Or, actually, no, the one-liners are always in response to something that's also a great setup.
Yeah, it's true. It's very quotable, but it always involves multiple characters when you're quoting it.
Right, exactly. Hence, it took me 15 minutes scrolling through IMDb quotes. I can't use that. That doesn't make any sense. Thanks for reenacting with me.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. So if I may set the scene, not the movie itself, but actually set up what we're recording here. This particular episode is meant to be more in the spirit of, I'd say, Scott Pilgrim episode, the Newsies episode, and the Recipe for Seduction episode.
Mm-hmm.
More along the lines of Newsies had a very, 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 very tiny romantic subplot. But as much as we joked about it, full props to Jen. When you're in middle school, that's more than enough to kind of base how you view, how romance works when you're, busy staring at Christian Bale, who's age appropriate for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas Scott Pilgrim, now granted that was your pick, but for me that was more of an emotional connection to that movie, given that that's a movie we saw after getting engaged.
Sure.
And Recipe for Seduction was just a KFC movie, so
it's probably closer to Recipe for Seduction than any of those. But yes, no one can accuse you of not having a very fine-tuned formula for what counts as content for the show. So,
well, to be fair, Recipe for Seduction was 12 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a what was it, 82 minutes long?
And runtime length was definitely a consideration in choosing for this week.
For the
we never did decide on whose pick this was, did we?
Oh yeah, we did. This is our dog's pick.
This is our dog Apollo's pick. Yes.
If you really look at the most tender relationship in this movie, it is between Colt and Claire.
Yes, Claire the
dog.
Claire the dog. What breed was she?
Was that a golden? No, it wasn't a golden.
I don't think it was a golden retriever. It was,
no, it was way darker.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that dog was really cute.
Yeah.
It was Claire.
Yeah.
Apollo is getting his choice in.
Yeah.
Because he wants us to be that broken up whenever he's kidnapped. Spoiler. For those of you who have not seen National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1, you have lived a good life.
Yes.
Because this movie is ridiculous and it's really, really dumb.
If you have seen the movie Hot Shots, just imagine a slightly worse version that's about 80s and 90s cop movies.
As opposed to Rambo.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Rambo or Top Gun, depending on whether you're talking about
one or two.
Or part on.
Oh, jeez. And let's be perfectly honest, and I'm welcoming various other opinions on what we should have done, but I was dancing between Spaceballs and Robin Hood, Men in Tights, and various other movies that are set up in a way where it's just I need to laugh.
We needed a low-key week, definitely.
I needed to laugh. So this movie is exactly that. It's a parody of the Loaded Weapon movies that...
The Lethal Weapon movies.
Sorry, did I keep calling it the Loaded Weapon movies?
Yeah, Loaded Weapon is the parody.
This is how much I don't care.
That's okay.
About the Lethal Weapon movies. The first time I saw Lethal Weapon was 2 Christmases ago or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was because of me, and we'd been talking about a lot of classic action movies, and I think some of our own podcast listening diet was bringing our attention to some of the like 80s, 90s classics, and we were like, oh, you haven't seen Lethal Weapon? Oh, you should see Lethal Weapon. You should, yeah, because...
and we definitely watched it for Christmas.
We did watch it around Christmas.
And the whole time I was just like, honey, this is not Die Hard.
Of course, no. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Lethal Weapon is not. In fact,
Lethal Weapon is a movie that takes place during Christmas.
Lethal Weapon is a good illustration for how Die Hard is a Christmas movie, not merely because it takes place at Christmas, because Lethal Weapon merely takes place at Christmas. But anyway, we had seen The Nice Guys.
Shane Black.
Yeah, earlier. Yeah, so Shane Black. And
every Shane Black movie is a Christmas movie.
Yeah, and it actually had a lot in common. You know, you could call it like a real spiritual sequel to Lethal Weapon. And I was like, oh, you should see the Lethal Weapon, like especially the first one. The sequels, varying amount of holding up, but the first one's like really different in tone, and it was praised for like having really serious parts but also being really funny, and yeah,
which is all the more reason that I could not take Lethal Weapon seriously, because I had watched this movie
so many times,
crap ton.
I just remember my main memory of having you watch that movie was like, wait, so Sergeant Murtaugh was supposed to be the responsible one in this? And I was just like, well, I mean, it's the LAPD, so you got to calibrate it,
See, I'm just so confused entirely. If anything, the bigger conversation was, so Samuel L. Jackson is playing a parody of Danny Glover?
Yeah, seems kind of backwards when we're used to like Samuel L. Jackson being a massive box office draw at A-list.
Yeah.
This was
1993.
Did we figure out, is this before or after Pulp Fiction? It's before, right?
Oh, this is way before Pulp Fiction.
Right. What year was Pulp Fiction?
It's 96.
96. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's
Pulp
what
Fiction.
I thought like 94 for some reason.
Well, I think maybe 96 was when they got nominated.
Yeah.
But no, I was flipping through IMDb because you were asking me like, where was Samuel L. Jackson's career? I'm like, I don't know. He was in Goodfellas.
All right. He was in Coming to America.
He was in Coming to America. Exactly. And the point is that I was flipping through. I'm like, dear God, he's in a lot of movies even before this. Only a few movie credits afterwards. He's in Jurassic Park. So yeah. This movie is pre-Jurassic Park.
Pre-Jurassic Park.
Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah.
And that was a very small supporting role too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I tend to forget that he's in that movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Much like Lethal Weapon, I did not see these movies very, very early on.
Yes. Which brings me to one of my little stories about the history of this movie is when we
specifically Loaded Weapon, because we keep talking about 12 different movies.
Specifically Loaded Weapon. Yes. When we were seeing Doug Benson's live show, and we got to come up on stage and play the game where you name as many movies as you can think of with a single actor in them, and the actor was Samuel L. Jackson. And I knew this was a risky choice because the rules of that game are very strict about saying the complete title, and I had to say National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1. Because the 1 is part of the joke, and I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have accepted it without the National Lampoon's part either, but I did get it right. So.
Right. Got really tricky when we were naming Star Wars movies. But let's see here.
Man, that bit me twice actually, because I was trying to name Formula 51, and I was like, but that was only that was a localized title, and like in the international market, it was called the 51st State, and I don't know.
I like that we're reminiscing about Samuel L. Jackson movies in general.
We established this was going to be a bit of a looser format.
Right. But if
there's a romance in this movie also, but I mean,
as much as there is in Lethal Weapon 3? ?
Yeah, 3. I mean, there was a love interest in 2, but it was kind of perfunctory.
Oh, just like the Mission Impossible movies?
I mean, it depends on which one you're talking about.
I don't know. Okay, if I may. Let me back up and pretend for a minute that we're on a podcast right now.
Oh, yeah.
So, Loaded Weapon, as we mentioned before, it is a
Loaded Weapon 1.
Damn it.
Sorry.
This is a parody of Lethal Weapon movies, and they'll make reference to other movies as well because that's what they did. I mean, this is a 90s one, so that's actually a really important distinction. Mm-hmm. But I mean, come on, we did not another teen movie, so obviously I should paint myself as the kind of person who does enjoy these movies.
Yeah.
But I also have a little bit of taste, and I was not into any of that huge, turning out factory of like, what was it, Date movie. And Meet the Spartans,
right,
and all this other stuff,
Yes, back when these parodies had a little bit of craftsmanship to them, even the kind of like less good ones.
Well, also not just craftsmanship, but just like good actors.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Such.
If I may.
Oh, yes.
So
please,
if I may.
please. Yes,
Okay.
the cast in this movie.
So this movie is Emilio Estevez, starring as was it Jack Colt?
Jack Colt.
And
parroting the Mel Gibson character.
Yes, and Samuel L. Jackson as Wes Luger, because they got to get the guns in there. Total respect to Tim Curry.
Oh yeah.
And
he is so good at this, and he so commits to it.
And I recently recorded an episode of Everything I Learned from Movies, where we're talking about the movie Peppermint, the Jennifer Garner Gets a Taken movie.
Yes, yes.
And what's funny is that they're doing Girl Scout cookies, and they're also not Girl Scout cookies, so they're like something. So the whole time I'm watching Peppermint, I'm just like, wilderness girls. Because Tim Curry commits to this, and it's wonderful.
Yes.
But I jumped. Kathy Ireland is the said love interest. If you don't count the fact that this character is played by two different actresses.
Right.
Which all due respect to that actress whom I can't remember, but I do remember her playing Coach's daughter in Cheers a long time ago. Jon Lovitz is in there. William Shatner is in there. Little shout out to Frank McRae as the captain who's shouting everything.
Right.
Which this is pretty great. But
can we talk about some of the other cameos? Denis Leary in there.
Denis Leary, is in the background. Charlie Sheen is in there.
Charlie Sheen.
Bruce Willis is in there.
Yes.
Apparently, I guess his cousin was a producer or something like that. And but even so, like actors that aren't doing cameos because they weren't really necessarily famous, but like they're there, and it just freaking me out. Like Joyce Brothers is in there,
right? Joyce Brothers and the guys from Chips and
Scotty from Star Trek, which is really funny because
and the guy who played not the captain from Die Hard who played like an FBI agent in this, or
Paul Gleason.
Paul Gleason, yeah.
And then you've got Corey Feldman for some reason as a cop, and then Phil Hartman as a cop,
right? And last but not least, let us not forget Denise Richards
as her debut,
in her debut film role as a non-speaking background character.
Who is surrounded by people in the exact same outfit and the exact same hairdo, because she is a backup singer. We will have missed people. Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, Whoopi Goldberg. And F. Murray Abraham.
F. Murray Abraham. J.T. Walsh. I was going to say J.K. Simmons. No, right. J.T. Walsh. As just the guy holding dynamite at the hotel. Just like, why you guys always come after me? I run a respectable establishment here. And... yeah.
So not skimping on the cast, not skimping on the amount of comedic talent they crammed into this thing. So.
And I was actually really concerned about how much of this would not have aged well. Because honestly, when we watched Hot Shots Part 2 about 15 years ago, it had not aged well. 15 years ago.
I'm not sure this movie aged that poorly at all. I mean, I know I keep like kind of qualifying my praise of it just because like, in this pantheon of kind of like 90s spoofs, it is like, kind of considered one of the mediocre ones. It's probably like a bit less fondly remembered than like Hot Shots and so on. But like, I want to say,
you're assuming Hot Shots is fondly remembered.
I mean, it isn't in the circles we frequent, but
okay, in the circles that we frequent, I would say Airplane is at the top.
Oh yeah, of course. That's from a different.
Spinal Tap is at the top.
I mean, that's from a whole other decade, though. So
I know it's a whole other decade, but it's in the same genre. Sure. Okay, fine. What would you put this in there? Which would be higher up? Spaceballs?
No, personally, I don't know. We'll get into my history with this movie later, but I think I've seen Loaded Weapon 1 way more times than Spaceballs for one, and that's just me. But anyway, what I did want to say about whether it's age, it's like, it does have that problem where like only a certain percentage of the jokes work, and there are bits that are just kind of falling flat, which is like always part of the formula here. Like people have even said like, the movie Airplane, which is just, comedic genius for the most part. But even there, it's like, there are a few jokes you're just not going to find funny, but it doesn't matter because in 5 seconds, you've moved on to another one. It's so rapid fire. Right.
And I would say that this does it as well, because it doesn't matter that one falls flat because there's another one on its way.
Yeah. And I get the sense that if it's like lower than those other movies, it's because it has like a slightly higher percentage of jokes that fall flat. But I mean, I feel like they probably fell just as flat when it first came out. I don't think that has anything to do with like it aging or in the subject matter or the style. Well,
okay, here's the deal. The things that still made us laugh.
Yeah.
of course it's subjective. Humor is subjective. And then some things that you'll laugh at, I'll just be like, that wasn't that funny. But in this movie, it's just like, hi, this is Detective Colt. I'm Detective Luger. These are our wallets. Just, and when they're just like, show me your, credentials. They do. Okay, closer. And they stand closer to one another.
Yeah.
It's dumb. And I can't stop loving it.
Well, it's also well executed, It's like even the dumbest joke can be crafted well.
So. And much like with Airplane, and I think this is why it works, is that it's played straight.
Yes.
Not even straight in the whole dumb playing it straight, but it's like they're putting he's putting like a slushie on his head, and and he's still playing it straight. And I don't know. I'm not even sure where to go with any of this. I can't.
We love the movie. This is where we go with it.
I want to justify this so hard right now because it's just like Samuel L. Jackson doing comedy is fantastic, but it's like, oh my God, Robert De Niro doing comedy. I'm like, Robert De Niro did comedy decades after establishing himself, whereas watching Samuel L. Jackson do this again, I think it's because he's very serious, not as we know him, but he's taking it seriously, except for the end where I think he was not having a good time when they were doing the Bohemian Rhapsody Wayne's World thing.
Right.
But he was still shaking his head.
Yeah.
Actually, I think at that age, my head would start hurting.
I did notice he was a bit more moving at the shoulders than bending the neck. That's probably how I would headbang right now if I needed to.
And then get a lot of ice afterwards because,
pour a slushie on your neck.
That too.
So, would you like to tell me your history of when you first saw this? And
I was really trying hard to remember.
I actually have a bit of a story from that.
You get started and then I'll remember.
Okay, sure. So when I was a teenager we'll say mid 90s, so high school-ish. The Lethal Weapon trilogy was kind of just in my rotation of movies that I wasn't I didn't think they were the best movies ever, but I had the box trilogy on VHS. I think I'd gotten it for Christmas or something because I'd originally seen them. It's
I remember.
Oh, you remember that?
I know.
You remember that box set?
No, I remember it on your shelf.
Yeah.
I remember it on your shelf.
Yeah, and it's not these were my favorite movies ever, but they were just good go-tos because I think I was introduced to them as they're these police action movies, but they're also really funny, stop short of they're not comedies, but they're comedic. And I know that my mom really liked them because it appealed to her sense of humor, and she was like, "Oh yeah, Lethal Weapon. Oh yeah, you're gonna like this." It's 3 movies, and I think the 4th came out after. Yeah, I saw Lethal Weapon 4 in theaters because I was already a pretty big fan of the series by that point.
Is that the one with Chris Rock and
that's right.
Jet Li?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. I did not see Loaded Weapon 1 contemporarily to that. That came a bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But
3 of them had come. I was reading trivia. 3 of the Lethal Weapon movies had been out by the time this came out.
Right. Yeah, and you can tell from what they make fun of too, or at least I can tell because I'm intimately familiar with it. Yeah, we were. Yeah.
Whereas I was thinking about. Okay, continue, and then I'll. Yeah, because you have yet to talk about Loaded Weapon.
Right. So Loaded Weapon was just one of those movies that I discovered through walking the halls at Blockbuster. I was like, I should watch this. It's National Lampoon. It's a Lethal Weapon spoof. I'll bet I'll enjoy this. And it kind of just through circumstance, it kind of slotted in as a comfort movie, just because Diana, if you remember telling you the story of when I first saw The Mummy Returns, it was I was kind of fighting off a cold, and it was one of those go to Blockbuster and I need 6 movies because I know I'm just going to be lying on the couch for several days,
because you can't sleep,
or because I don't feel like getting up,
I mean, that's when you sleep.
I'm not a big sick sleeper. It's more sit on the couch being miserable.
Oh, got it. Whereas I sleep.
Yeah. And I have this really strong association with the other thing that I had brought home from Blockbuster at the time, and that was the first time I played the video game Metal Gear Solid, which just turned into one of the major cultural touchstones of my youth. I spent the rest of my adulthood obsessed with that franchise, and spent all sorts of time talking to my friends about it. And that cold that I had at the time was really memorable too, because Metal Gear Solid takes place in Alaska and everything's like out freezing, and that there's a lot of just like, you know, how the conditions are really uncomfortable, and I'm just like, you know, sitting there. It's wintertime in real life, and I'm sitting there with my stuffy nose, like, wow, it's like I'm really there, you know. And then in between playing that game and just being like, oh my god, this is the best video game ever, I can't wait until I own my own copy of this, I watched Loaded Weapon 1, and I was like, oh, this is also really fun, I really enjoy this. I think I rewound the scene of Denis Leary doing his lounge music cover of You Really Got Me Now. I like watched that. It was just the funniest thing. I couldn't get enough of that song. I had to watch it like 8 times. So,
which is really dumb that something tickles you in that way, and I'm just like, watch it again.
Yeah.
I was trying really hard to think, what is it? And this very easily could have just been picked up from my dad when we would send him to Blockbuster, and we would send him with a very, very specific list, which would most likely involve Ace Ventura or Clue. And odds are there was always the possibility that what we wanted was not there, and he would come back with something, and then we would hate him because why would you bring back, this is not what I wanted. And then looking back on it, I'm like, do you come back with nothing, or do you come back with something?
Yeah, that's just how it worked back
and
then.
The answer is, I don't know, but no matter what, it was going to be the wrong answer because you did not bring back the thing that I wanted. So,
but then you watch it anyway, generally?
Yes, because that's how
yeah.
I saw Fatal Instinct for the first time. I think my dad knew to get parodies.
Fatal Instinct. So that's also with the parody, right? Not to be confused with.
Oh no, my father would never have picked up Basic Instinct or Fatal Attraction for me.
Right.
But no, I think he knows the right names to find, and he looks for parody. I mean, obviously he would be hanging out in the comedies for me. So I am not positive, but I can see that being why I watched it for the first time. And correct me if I'm wrong, I know I bought you a copy of this on DVD.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was one of those little button cases where you had to like crack the little plastic on the side to open it up, and then the cardboard would flip open to get to the DVD type of case.
Oh yeah,
it was one of those.
That's Diana's eye for detail there.
Oh
yeah.
Well, no, it's just like, you know, because you open it up like that, and for me, I'm just wondering the whole time. I'm like, that wasn't an official gift. That was like, I was at a Best Buy, and it was in a either you were there and I picked it out and I bought it for you, or I saw it in the bargain bin and I'm just like, oh hell yes. Yeah, I'm bringing this to you.
Those are the sweetest kind of gifts. Just saw this, thought of you. It was $6.
It was. And again, this is why it goes back to why I'm doing this. I mean, if this is the podcast about relationships and movies and our relationships with them, I have a very and forgive me because we've been together way too long. I have a very distinct memory of us watching this in your college apartment.
Yeah, I remember that too.
On that crappy futon.
Made
that futon rot in hell.
Yeah. Yeah, you hated that futon.
I hate that futon.
I wasn't too fond of it myself, but
well, you had a normal like thing to nap on, so a bed, if you will.
I mean, it wasn't too bad when I was by myself. I just sort of sat to one side, so I wasn't sitting on the broken part of the bars.
Oh God, I hated that futon before it was broken. Anyways, but the thing is, though, is that I'm like, am I remembering us watching this on your futon, or am I remember us watching Hot Shots on your futon? And the answer is yes.
I think it was both. Yeah,
not on the same night.
Not on the same night. Probably both Hot Shots is at least part 2.
I have not watched the first Hot Shots.
Oh, you've never seen it?
I've never seen it in its entirety.
Oh,
I don't think.
Make a note of that for later. I think.
Oh, okay. I have a long list of movies that I should be watching. The point is that this movie is deep in our hearts, and I can't justify it anymore because I had no younger attachment to the human romantic relationship that was taking place in this movie.
The Kathy Ireland character.
I unfortunately got a little bit sad when I forgot that he was pining over his partner Claire the whole time, and I'm like, oh, doggy.
Just all of a sudden you're sad because he lost his dog.
I'm very sad because he lost his dog. And then I actually went through my memory of just like, okay. No, she's alive. Yeah,
he finds her.
She's alive. She was kidnapped. Oh my god, though, if somebody kidnapped my dog, though. This is
Yeah,
why
I know.
this is why this is
there's like this like comically clunky Deus Ex Machina where Claire is just like in the bad guy's lair for no reason. It's just like,
I think there was a reason.
okay.
Maybe that should be our whole thing. Okay, here's the thing though.
Right, because it was left as a mystery of why Claire disappeared in the first place. So you think she was just running off after the
Right. Well,
what's that girl? The cocaine is down the well.
oh, she's not that kind of dog. But that's one of the running gags too, is that Claire was his partner.
And he doesn't tell anyone that she's a dog, and everyone he talks to thinks she's a human.
Yeah, and it's like gross.
She used to
lick my feet.
She used to sleep in the bed and lick my toes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then she would stop and then just start licking herself.
Yes.
It's so dumb. Oh, it's so dumb, and it's not even the. I forgot about the dog in this movie. Otherwise, I think I would have like.
So we're here under the pretense of talking about the relationship with the Kathy Ireland character, right?
I mean, you are.
We are okay. We didn't.
No, you're
talk
right.
about
You're
that.
right.
Yeah,
that is correct.
Destiny demeanor, misdemeanor.
Misdemeanor, yes.
Misdemeanor.
But I have an important question.
Yeah.
Because of everything that went through, and also in the scene where they're doing the Silence of the Lambs parody, and he's just like, remember back into your past, Mr. Colt. Think back who you were, and then you see him.
Think of a man you were involved with.
Yes,
yeah,
yes, and it is implied romantic. He's like, no, in Vietnam, and then there's him with a guy who is presumably
with an Asian guy.
With an Asian guy, and then no.
Not romantically involved. Oh.
No. He doesn't say that. He's just he's like
that kind of involvement.
He's like,
Sorry,
no. He's older, and then he pauses and he goes, "Wait a minute, we never not like that."
Ladies and gentlemen, F. Murray Abraham.
Oh my God, Oscar winner F. Murray Abraham.
Yeah, did you come up with your final list of how many Academy Award winners are in this?
Fortunately, IMDb did it for me, and it's 2.
Only 2. Okay.
Only 2, but still.
Yes.
And for me, what's kind of funny about that is I really chewed on it and thought, well, one of the gags was just like, I know we only like was smoked in bed together.
We only lay in bed together and smoke cigarettes. So you think next time we can make love?
And I know, and he's really hesitant to like even be around her.
Right.
I mean, he's like,
because she's dangerous.
Is she? I mean,
well, she's implied to be, in league with the enemy. And
I do like that joke where she's just like, oh, are you sad because shouldn't have gotten involved with a guy like me? I'm like, no, I just know that I'm attached to you, and I'm
friendly with the bad guy.
With the bad guy, I know I'm gonna die.
Yeah, that was okay. I wanted to ask, like, what did you think of her in this role? Because
she wasn't terrible, but she wasn't great.
Yeah, because I remember like just reading wherever on the internet, probably IMDb, a lot of people saying that like she was the weak link in this movie, which is like, yeah, I remember watching it for the first time. I was like, I didn't think she was an actress.
She wasn't.
She's not an actress.
No. I mean, she was in some earlier stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, she doesn't ruin it. And actually, I was kind of paying attention during this viewing, and that one line that you just quoted, I was like, oh, she really made that funny. Actually, that was really good delivery.
Or maybe we're extra forgiving because we're in an already good mood.
Sure.
I mean, come on, the captain is yelling and there's a guy walking through a hallway with a blue dot on his face, and that's hilarious. I didn't think that she was that terrible.
No, I don't think so either.
But now my question is, though, like, with everything that's going on, and I know it's parody and I know it's, spoof and everything like that, but like, is he gay? Is he genuinely gay? Because, Luger had even asked him, are you one of those macho guys that just hates women?
Right.
And I'm just like, or is he gay? And it's the early 90s. And I mean, I know they're doing it for the laughs, but like, what if he actually is gay?
I mean, yeah, it's 1993. He probably doesn't know if he's gay, It's how it worked back then, especially if you're a film character, I guess.
I didn't note anything like any type of attraction to women. So I'm thinking like, well, maybe he's bi. I don't know. But
he was lusting over the foldout in that magazine, but it turned out to be of a rifle. And
Yes, that is accurate. So, but question in the Lethal Weapon trilogy / ongoing movies, like, so they give him a love interest, and they have the perfunctory love interest in the second one.
I'm pretty sure that's what they were making fun of with the. It was he
context, please.
He slept with the beautiful personal assistant coordinator person from the chief of the chief villain. So
In the second one?
In the second one,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
And
Was it? I don't remember the first one at all.
first one, he's widowed. He's pining over his dead wife.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
Then
I immediately think I'm like, was it like a? Oh shoot, who was it? Not Raymond Burr. It's somebody, old actor back in the day that I'm trying to remember. Oh, actually, I might be. Continue while I.
Anyway, okay, so yes. Secondly, the Weapon movie, Riggs gets a love interest who dies because she was friendly with the villain. And the third one is Rene Russo, and that turns into a stable relationship that persists into the fourth one.
I don't know why I have this thing in my head of like, an old actor who like was widowed early, and then it turns out he was just gay the whole time, and he pretended to be widowed early. I don't know if I'm actually remembering this or if I'm remembering this is a great cover story when I listened to Adam Carolla way back in the day. He's like, no, what you do is you find an old widow, and then you say like, I can never love again, and then don't mind me. I'm just, the point is that I'm combining all of these backstories, and I'm like, Colt doesn't even have a widow in this whole thing. He just has a dog partner that
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So I'm being unnecessarily backstory person.
No,
right
you
now.
make a good point. He's
I mean, it's a good cover story, but also given his line of work, it's probably dangerous to be in any type of relationship with anybody.
To be honest, I never put that much on the fact that he's like in no real hurry to have any kind of physical intimacy with Destiny, but yeah, that is
he barely anything, and I mean, they wore each other's pumps.
Well, they were just in a hurry.
No, I know that. I know. Because
let's see what else he gave her an unmotivated butt in the moonbeam walk.
Okay, well, that could just be like good lighting opportunity.
Right, yeah.
Oh,
Did that make you uncomfortable?
they definitely cut that out in syndication.
Even though it's clearly like a plastic prosthetic butt that he's wearing.
I mean, he's no Mark Wahlberg, but
Right.
and that's a good thing.
Sure.
Right. I don't know how much I've really stumbled upon here.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that because there's that whole conversation of just like, he was never breastfed as a child, and
right, like they get into like he has a thing with women. He has a so
and that
doesn't.
I mean, that's traumatic, but
yeah, it would not be appropriate to assume that means that he's
right.
like closeted and gay, and if anything, like that's like psychosexual fixation. We should probably not devote any more energy to this.
Why not?
Because we're not talking about the funny parts anymore. Except for him skipping down the beach with a Vietnamese guy. That was pretty funny.
Was I just love timings of these things.
Oh yeah.
No.
It's right in the middle of the Silence of the Lambs parody, and even for this movie, it's being played fairly serious. And
except for and those. Thank you for that, because those are the weak elements. I'm just like, okay, let's do the Silence of the Lambs thing, and
in fact, even when we were watching it, I was saying like it is a bit weird that they throw the brakes on here just to do the spoof for the talking to Hannibal Lecter in the jail cell scene, and it's like, okay, well, like that movie was pretty contemporary when this came out, and it is technically a police movie
of sorts,
and not like in the same vein as Lethal Weapon,
it's a mystery, like a police mystery. Well, FBI,
yeah, close enough,
sure. But no, we should, I will point out the weak parts of it, the stuff that didn't age well, the Star Trek thing with the cappuccino machine and the chips, chips reference. Let me give it to you this.
About the Star Trek thing, I have to admit, it took me more viewings than I care to acknowledge to realize the joke when he's saying like, I'm giving it all she's got, Captain. That he's like, he is a police captain. That's why he's calling him Captain. That's like.
Okay, I was right now years old when.
Okay.
Well, that's not okay. More credit to them.
Okay, see, it's a little funnier than you give it credit.
More credit to them, because it's just a little step faster of funny. Yeah. Okay, but also that's us.
Yeah.
When Luger gives Charlie Sheen a 20, you have anything smaller?
Keep it.
Anything larger? And now you have a little bit of an insight of what Ryan and I do
Yes.
on our Friday nights. Not even watching a movie, just like kind of going back and forth and actually high-fiving when we can complete each other's quotes, or if we'll say something and we know exactly what the other one is referencing. Unfortunate. I went too far with the with the whole thing.
No, yeah, I mean, I do think that is insight into the manner in which we enjoy these movies and why there's so much worth coming back to.
I was actually referring to the sexuality thing.
Oh, that
conversational-wise. Then again, if you really think about it, he's being hit on by like a supposed teenage girl, a preteen boy, and another dog.
And, yes, not to be confused with Claire.
Not Claire, but I think that would make him the most uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, they're just like taking all this stuff in from the movies they're parodying, and these poor characters just have to kind of deal with it, you know?
Is that a thing in
Lethal Weapon? What? Yeah. Murtaugh's teenage daughter kind of has a precocious crush on Riggs.
And gross, but I'm gonna move on from there. I'll also point out that I really don't know my 80s cop movies very well, because when you start talking,
that's why I keep me around.
Well, that's one of many. Okay, fine, that's the reason. I almost started humming the theme song to Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh,
and I'm just
that's
like,
a good one.
Well, yeah, but I'm just like, that's not Lethal Weapon at all. And in fact, I think I remember when we started watching Lethal Weapon, I'm just like, this isn't the theme that I know.
It's almost odd in its absence, come to think of it, that Beverly Hills Cop doesn't really... I mean, I was going to say, that's like already a comedy, so it doesn't really work as a spoof target, but the same could be said as Lethal Weapon, but that's not really a comedy. It's just a,
Well, they also did make a nod to 48 hours when they're just like, you actually have 47 hours.
Right.
So, I don't know exactly. But do you want to comment at all on that romantic relationship that we have not much to say about?
Well, I hope I can keep it efficient, because when they fell in love, they like pan slowly from the bed over to a shot of a clock, so we know that they fell in love at 12:10 a.m.
Okay.
And
is that love? They were just kind of doing it.
Is when by doing it you mean smoking their cigarettes?
I mean, they are cancer sticks, and they should be tackled.
Yeah.
They should be tackled if they smoke indoors.
It did bother me a little bit that like they do the gag where like it as though it's like, oh, a sex scene is starting and the camera has to like be discreet. It like suggestively pans away from the characters, and then the clock advances a single minute before it pans back. It's a joke about like, oh, that's how long it took them to have sex. And then later they make the joke about how they didn't even have sex. So it's like, is that still funny? I guess it is.
I think it was funny mainly because the candles had still melted downward.
Right.
So I'm just like, honey, did the candles melt downward?
It's like, that is approximately how long it would take to light a cigarette.
I don't know.
Anyway.
But she had quick burning cigarettes, so.
Yeah, I was watching that and just say, okay, shout out to all of like the practical effects in this movie for like the prop comedy and stuff. And yeah, there was even this gag where she was like getting turned on and like really not like anxiously, but like in this kind of agitated way, smoking a cigarette, and the cigarette just burns down really fast. And I was just staring at it like, what did they make that cigarette out of that made it burn that way? So
somebody hasn't seen Romeo and Michelle.
No, I have not.
Right. There's a whole thing with Janine Garofalo's character where she got rich because she invented the quick burning paper for cigarettes, because she always wanted to be able to smoke a full cigarette in between classes. Right. So when she became an adult, what is it? Twice the flavor and half the time for the gal on the go. So I saw that. I'm just like, huh.
Anyway, yeah, lots of practical prop comedy in this. The Mr. Potato Head suspect.
Oh God, that was so funny. I'm so sorry, everyone. There's just so much going on. I was amused by the police officers in the background doing the limbo.
Oh yeah, so many background gags. I love the one of the hallmarks of this movie is that they make fun of like showing up to a major crime scene and the detectives roll in, and it's like this 3-ring circus where like, oh, the coroners are there and the police and the medical examiner and the CSIs or whatever. And in this movie there's like catering vans and valet parking and like souvenirs being sold in the background. It's very funny, and they cram a lot of visual comedy into this.
Right. And then final shout out, and I promise we'll get to like an actual podcast segment here, but just like the other cop who's on there who's constantly constantly has some sort of like problem, and he's just like, hey.
Yeah, because they're like spoofing the commercials of the time where someone gives their trusted friend some like
Head and Shoulders.
Head and Shoulders, yeah.
But Sarge, you don't have dandruff. I know.
Yes, and then I'll go ahead and set this up where he's I'm pretty sure this was a commercial at the time.
It's Tinactin.
Yeah, it's an Tinactin commercial where he takes his shoe off and there's like actual fire on his foot. He's like, I've got this burning sensation.
Yeah, well, of course your foot's on fire, man. Just so dumb. And okay, damn it, I'm doing it some more, but it's just like the flashback to why Luger plays by the book all the time, because he was a crossing guard and this old woman actually she wasn't even that old of a woman, but she had a walker.
Had some kind of disability. She's using a walker.
She's using a walker, and then you go back.
Like the mangled walker lands in front of him, and then
when like, I'll always play by the book, and and then it flashes back, or it goes back to the present thing, and go ahead.
And then they're like arguing about this again, and Colt like holds up the mangled walker and gestures with it.
Do I need you to remind you?
Exactly.
And his name tag says Wes Luger, 12 years old.
Yes.
We love this shit. And while the romantic relationship in the movie is not existent really in this, I will say that I love laughing with you.
Oh,
and
I love it too.
So thank you for however many years ago that we watched this. Thank you for watching this movie with me tonight.
For a quick hit, do you have a thought for like what happens? Okay, if you listen to Jon Lovitz, okay, good. Because I was going to say, if you listen to Jon Lovitz, we're already in the sequel, or at least he thought they were.
I thought it was a sequel.
Yeah, because he's come back from the dead. He jumped the gun slightly, apparently.
Well, also, that's what's really funny.
Didn't you die?
There's and even so, just like, are you sure we can't keep you from retiring? Only if Colt can be my partner. We can arrange that. Sequel.
Yes.
According to IMDb trivia, which we all know is 100% accurate, there was supposed to be a sequel, and they said that because it didn't perform well, that's why they didn't do it. But I was looking at it, I'm like, this actually made a lot of money compared to its budget. So I'm actually really disappointed. It's like the Now where it's just like, well, we spent $300,000, so if it doesn't make $1 billion, then obviously it's a failure. But so would the sequel be disappointing?
Yeah, I mean,
how many comedy sequels actually do well?
Hot Shots Part 2?
I said do well in general, not
like financially,
not because we're the weirdos who liked that one.
I mean, aside from like just those like eternal franchises, like I don't know, like the Hangover 2 probably made money, and
comedy sequels are hard.
Yeah,
look at you, Bridget Jones.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I did enjoy Airplane, the sequel, but because I'm an easy target most of the. Actually, no, I'm usually harsh. I'm very harsh.
Well,
I suppose if I already
if I had the right formula, you can be easy to please.
Actually,
that's what's going on here.
If I'm already endeared to you, I'm very easy to please. Hello, Loaded Weapon 1.
Yes.
I came here. Well,
it's an endearing movie.
I suppose my guard was up too. But the future. Honestly, I feel bad. This is what's going to happen. They're going to get blown up in a car.
Yeah, I was gonna say like,
but Claire will be okay.
Claire will be okay. Yes, and that's why there's no sequel. Just like the entire cast gets blown up in a car. Or
sure.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say like, Destiny has all of the hallmarks of like she's going to be killed off in the sequel, except that like she already was killed off in this movie and it didn't stick. So, like,
correct.
So I can't. Yeah. So I'm gonna say like, yeah. If it's following the formula, then she probably follows the track of like the Rene Russo character from the Lethal Weapon franchise. As I was explaining to Diana, that was what they were. That was what they were making fun of with the like comparing scars with the. Oh,
the comparing scars thing. I was about to say. I thought she was a cop. Was she?
Rene Russo? Yeah.
Well, when you're saying that, I'm just like, oh my god, was she in with the bad guys? No, that wasn't.
No.
Okay.
No, quite the contrary. She was an internal affairs cop. So
got it.
And yeah, I mean, that when we were talking off air, I think it was interesting to you that, like, that, oh, people comparing their scars, that's just like a general trope. And it's like, oh, well, doing it in like a sexy, flirty way. It's like, no, that's specifically from Lethal Weapon 3, which you haven't seen. So
I was about to say, I've never seen the whole comparing scars thing in a sexy, flirty way in my life. So thank you for clarifying.
You're very welcome. So yeah.
I'm just like, what Jaws did you watch?
And yeah, I could totally see it being one of those dumb things where, like, they need something to do with the characters, so they have to, like, give her a badass upgrade, and she has all sorts of, like, combat skills or acrobatic flippy flips or whatever to make her look more impressive. And
so she's going to get some acrobatic flippy flips in the sequel.
Now that I think of it, didn't that kind of happen with Hot Shots?
I was about to say,
yeah,
it was a sequel. I had to come.
Yeah, and she got some actual, like, combat scenes and stuff too, when she was just like the civilian bystander in the first movie.
So are you saying that an old boyfriend / lover / husband is going to come out of her past and threaten their future?
Seems inevitable, really.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe only for one scene. It might only have as much depth as Colt's Vietnamese ex-boyfriend, but who knows?
But here's my thing, though. She died, but that didn't stick.
Yeah.
Shouldn't she be arrested for being an accomplice to all of this cocaine cookie thing?
It depends on how much she knew when, I guess. Yeah.
No, she did it.
Maybe she gets clemency for tipping off the cops. You know how it works in these movies.
If you're, like, smoking in bed with one, you get some clemency.
I'm sure that, just because you're in good with the LAPD, that wouldn't lead to any kind of, legal oversight or anything.
So now we can get started about the whole, like, cops and things. And yeah, there were a few things where it's just like, oh, not following by the rules. I'm like, oh, that's right. This is when we're cheering cops by not playing.
I know.
Yeah.
It reminded me so much of when you saw Lethal Weapon for the first time, and it was just like, he's the by the book one. It's like, yeah, great on a curve for by the book,
Oh, see, again, I don't remember watching it, but I just remember not really, like, being into it the whole time. It wasn't Christmassy. It wasn't, I don't know. I guess I wasn't in the mood.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And yeah, it's probably it's definitely a movie that is going to change your engagement based on, when in life you're watching it, and maybe kind of a gender thing too. I don't know. So
here we go. Take this movie with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
Wait till it's streaming on a service you already pay for, or is free on Tubi, or
if someone has the DVD lying around from a Best Buy sale back in 2005.
I think that was like approximately $6 well spent.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Okay, so they're gonna get blown up in a car. I think that he had no interest in her whatsoever.
Fair enough.
I think we covered it all.
I think we did, and we laughed a lot doing it.
Yes. So big shout out.
I call that time well spent.
Yeah. Shout out to Apollo for his pick.
Yes.
He likes dogs. All right. So thank you for hanging with us as we talked about this movie and basically just laughed at things that were in our mind's eye.
Yeah.
If you have any opinions about Loaded Weapon 1 or Spaceballs or any of those types of things, I want to know what people's parody favorites are, if any. Mm-hmm. And apologize if you enjoyed, like, Meet the Spartans or any of those movies that we just trashed on. You can find us on the social medias, but, more specifically...
at HEAMcast.
At HEAMCAST on Twitter and Instagram.
And you can find me retweeting it.
And also check out Facebook at Happily Ever Aftermath. I think I just laughed myself into being tired. Okay, so... Thank you again, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was a ton of fun.
All right. Until next time, may your aftermath be happy.